All right, good morning, traders. Today is October 21st, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody out there in podcast land, digital land, cyber land. Thank you for everybody that subscribes and follows me on social media. I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for sharing the content. Special shout out to Bob Jordan, John Jordan, Kathy, Sarah Roasted, sharing my content, helping get the good word out there to the rest of the world so that they can be profitable as well. Appreciate that. Love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for the kind words and the kind comments over the years. All right. Let's take a look at what happened yesterday. Do a little summary here on what happened. Dig that back up here. I want the 21st. Here we go. All right, good morning. Thanks for being here. My SPY pivot, 669.75. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Gold made a new all-time high. No surprise there. All of the Fab Five made higher highs and higher lows, closing over bullish crosses over their 17 EMA. SPY closed with a 2-hour uptrend and a 10-minute bullish consolidation. Just a reminder, my favorite trade, okay? Going to stop it right here. My favorite trade, 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that resides inside a 2-hour uptrend, that resides inside a daily uptrend, that resides inside a weekly uptrend, that resides inside the monthly uptrend. And it's over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the premium setup, okay? Right there. That 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that resides in all of those bigger time frames, okay? In uptrends, okay? You got all the bigger time frames supporting my little 10-minute uptrend, helping it go higher and go further, all right? That's my favorite setup right there. You may see it today, and I will be taking advantage if it does show up. All right, just saying that's my favorite setup. All right, silver made an inside day. It's a lower high and a higher low. Closed over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. USO in a daily downtrend made a lower low and a lower high, closing under a bearish trap under the 17. UNG in a daily downtrend. No surprise there. Made a higher low and a higher high. That's a surprise. Closing over a bullish cross over the 17 EMA. US dollar index remains in an uptrend, closed near the 98.52 area. My chart's not working for that one. I don't know why, but that's where it closed. We're still in an uptrend on the US dollar, so that uptrend is still inside a big bear flag. That is a weekly or a monthly bear flag. Okay, but we're in an uptrend. SPY max pain for today, 670 with a put to call ratio of about 1 3/4 puts for each call. That expires today. Remember, those index options expire at 4:15. Security options expire at 4. If this is your first time being here, these are all of these are in daily uptrends over the 17 EMA. All of these are in daily downtrends under the 17 EMA. If they have a star next to them under the bull column, means they're producing a bull flag. In other words, called a launch pad from which to launch higher. Okay? If they got one little star next to them over here, they're building a platform from which to dip lower. Otherwise, you might look at it, it'd be looked at as a bear flag. So bull flag, bear flag. All right? So these have the ability to probably dip lower. If you check out BRBR, it's already starting to dip, all right, on that one. I keep both bulls and bears, even in a bullish market, in case people want to be delta neutral and have something that's pulling in profits while they're delta neutral, all right? So you want, some people like to have probably a little bit more on the bullish side, maybe like a 60-40 portfolio, or maybe like, a 30-20 with 50% cash reserves. You do a 30-20 or you're in a bullish market, put 30 on the bullish side, 20 on the bearish side. You know, it's just a thought. You don't have to do that, but I'm just saying that's something that I've seen other traders do. All right, so let's take a look at the markets today. We don't need that one. Let's take a look at SPY. SPY on the daily chart, higher low, higher high, just like I said. Over the bullish cross, see the yellow 3 EMA crossing over the 8 EMA here, okay? So higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish cross over the 17 EMA. See these green dots? They turn into red dots, now back into green dots over the 17 EMA. Okay, so we closed up here in the upper third. All right, from the pullback from the high, we're back into the upper third. If we put the anchored VWAP on there, we'll do that when we get to the 2-hour chart. I'll wait. You'll see that we have prices currently in a 2-hour uptrend. Here we are here with a 2-hour uptrend. We've got the price candles riding on top of the 3 EMA. The 3 EMA is this yellow line, which follows price very closely. And the 3 is riding up over the 8 with nice daylight in between the 8 and the 3. And then we got the 8 is riding up over the 17 EMA right there. So we have ourselves nice 2-hour uptrend right now. So you guys know that's my favorite trade. 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that's inside of a 2-hour uptrend that's inside, you know, all those other bigger time frames also in uptrend. So right there, we got the 2-hour uptrend right now. Okay, so that's what we're looking at right now, 2-hour uptrend. Now, if we put, let's just go ahead and put the all-time high anchored VWAP. There's the all-time high. You can see price currently over the all-time high anchored VWAP. And we're in the upper third, so that's bullish. All right, and we have a 2-hour uptrend, so that's bullish. All right, so you can see price all the way at the top of quadrant 4, so that is bullish all the way up there. Okay, now we look at the price from the dip low. Okay, so you notice we made a low here on the daily chart. Okay, so we made a low right here. We made a lower low. All right, so that puts us in a downtrend until we make a higher high. Okay, so we got a little 2-candle low here. That puts us back into an uptrend. We made a higher high yesterday than this high up here. So now we're back into an uptrend here on SPY. So SPY, bullish, and in an uptrend right there. Okay, let's take a look at the game plan. And we'll drill down into that. And you can see price action here. We got green. I'm just going to take this off just for a minute. Okay, make it easier. Visibility. All right, so green. Green erases red up over 672.10. The pivot 669.75. Red erases green below 667.25. If we get below this 667.25, look for a possible gap fill down here. Okay, got some bullish sentiment from yesterday. Notice price gapped up and the bears failed to fill the gap all day long. Okay, that leaves me with a bullish bias. All right, so bullish bias because we gapped up, bears failed to fill the gap all day long. So that leaves me with a bullish bias on that. Okay, so I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. All right, you've already heard it twice today. I trade 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. If I get a 10-minute uptrend that happens to manifest down here, long before it gets to the green erases red entry, or right here, just under the pivot or on top of the pivot, I'm not opposed to trading a 10-minute uptrend that originates or manifests from this area down here. I don't have to wait till the green erases red entry up here. I can take it down here, but I have one caveat. It has to break the bullish 10-minute rubber band candle. That's what I like to see. All right. I also like to see it coming right off of support. 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. So if I get a 10-minute downtrend that may happen to manifest up here, okay, I'm not opposed to trading it, all right, long before it gets to the red erases green entry down here at 667.25. Okay, again, I'd like to see it break the bearish 10-minute rubber band candle. Okay? Now, bear in mind, we're in a bullish market. Taking downtrends is counter trend. Will we have pullbacks? Yes. But bear in mind, we're taking downtrends in this bullish market is counter trend. I usually don't take them on the first day. Usually on the first day, I'm buying the pullbacks. Okay? As price dips, I'm buying the dips. All right? So on the 10-minute downtrends, not a big fan of trading 10-minute downtrends unless, of course, I see price gets extended. In other words, it goes too far, too fast, and it's liable to climactically, it gets a little parabolic on the shorter time frames, and then I'm likely to trade that to the downtrend because it got there too fast. Now, if price melts up, all right, that's a whole different story, okay, because price can melt up for months, weeks, all right, so it's a different story when price melts up, all right, when price flies up there too fast, all right, then the apex of the curve up there winds up gravity and price comes falling back down. That's when I'm interested in trading the downtrends under VWAP up here in a counter trend fashion. All right, so there's SPY. There's the SPY game plan. We got one for QQQ. Okay, QQQ pivot for today. Let me move this over. All right, is 610.40. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Red erases green underneath, 595.50. Green erases red over 612.90. Okay, I trade 10-minute uptrends over VWAP just like SPY. I trade 10-minute downtrends under VWAP just like SPY. I trade 3 DTE and 10 DTE Friday options on the multiple of 5 with strikes $2 to $15 out of the money. All right, I prefer the Friday options on the multiple of 5. Higher liquidity. Liquidity, the ability to get in and out without a lot of slippage or without paying up too much just to get in, all right, is attractive to me, all right? I like that, especially on short-dated options. I don't want to get out 10 cents less than where it's trading at, okay, or pay 10 cents more than where price is trading at. I don't like that. That chews into my profits. I don't like that at all. Okay, so there's our QQQ game plan. All right, let's look at the 10-minute chart. And let's take a look at, you can see we've got 10-minute, kind of bullish consolidation. Don't really have a downtrend, don't really have an uptrend. Same thing in SPY. Okay, again, bullish consolidation. No uptrend, no downtrend, just kind of moving over to the right. Okay, that's what we got. So go back to QQQ. Okay, so bullish consolidation. Gonna zoom out here, get the 2-hour chart, and we'll pick it up on a cleaner one. All right, you can see on the 2-hour chart, we have price. Get this out of the way. Okay, you can see price up here, riding on top of the 3 EMA. That's that yellow thin line. That's the 3 EMA. Price candles riding up top there. And then you can see daylight between the 3 and the 8. So we have ourselves nice little 2-hour uptrend. Okay, and you can see the 8 and the 3 and the candles riding up over the 17 EMA. And you can see this purple line, which happens to be the all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, so price, I'll probably pin this one over here. Yeah, right there. Okay, so you can see price is up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. So I'll be looking for my 10-minute uptrend sometime today. Hopefully it does develop. We'll see what happens. All right, there's QQQ. All right, nice 10-minute uptrend. How am I going to trade QQQ and SPY? Let's take a look at the pre-market. All right, on the pre-market, okay, we don't really have consolidation over prior consolidation because that would be a bullish bias. We have kind of consolidation under prior consolidation. That leaves me a little bit bearish neutral bias right there. Got a higher low, price made a higher high. We have a 10-minute uptrend right here in the pre-market. I will look for a continuation of that 10-minute uptrend. We'll see what happens. I will look for an entry candle, preferably no dojis, no spinning tops. I don't want any red candles, all right? And I don't want any candles with, see, like this one, way more wick than body and tail, okay? That shows me bearish control right there, okay? Red candles show me, see this? Bearish control. The hammer, that's bullish right there. Even though it's red, that's still bullish because the bulls had more control than the bears did. All right, so there's QQQ. Be looking for a nice green candle, something like this, something like that. No spinning tops, no dojis. All right, so there's QQQ. I'll be looking for both QQQ and SPY, a continuation of the current 10-minute uptrend, all right, over VWAP. That's what I'll be looking for, all right, for both of those as an entry. I will also box off the first 15 minutes and trade the breakout. Okay, you can see we're right on top of yesterday's close, so there won't be much of a gap fill to be had, but I would sure like to see them hold it up over the prior day's close, not yesterday's, but the day before, Friday's close way down here. I would like to see them continue to keep this gap open. That would show me more bullish control up here, okay? I'd like to see them hold that up over the pivot. That would be ideal for me for today, all right? So there's QQQ and SPY. So there's the outlook on both of those. You can take a look at SPY so you can see the same thing, okay? 10-minute C-SPY, 10-minute uptrend, candles riding up on top of the 3. You got daylight between the 3 EMA and the 8 EMA. I prefer to have the candles up on top of the 3 EMA, so we'll see what happens. Obvious resistance up here at 672.10, all right? So we'll see if we can get through that. If we can consolidate through here, usually you hang out and you bang on the door for about 4 or 5 hours, and eventually you can find a way through, all right? We'll see what happens, all right? If we stay up here 4, 5, 6 hours and we don't get through, I will be looking for price to pull back and pick up some spinach or some red meat or some mustard, something down here, all right, to get another stab or another run at it later on, all right? So there's the 10-minute chart. And again, we're looking for 10-minute uptrend. We have it. We're looking for a continuation of the 10-minute uptrend. Look at all these candles, though. These are not ideal candles. The hammer is. The spinning top is not. That spinning top is not. That one's not either. Okay, so these are not ideal candles. All right, something like this, something like that. That would look nice. These, not so much. So there's SPY. All right, I showed you QQQ. Let's go back to QQQ. I think we got to look at that on the daily time frame, and let's look at it right here. Okay, so this is today's candle. We're going to go over here and look at it. This is today's candle right here. Yesterday's candle right here. Okay, so QQQ, look at this. Right up here, this is the all-time high right there. Okay, so on QQQ, they came within pennies of making an all-time high. Now, what happened? How come they couldn't get it done? All right? You got to ask yourself, why couldn't they get that done? They were within pennies up there. They couldn't stretch, their arms over the, the goal line to score a touchdown. That's a little concerning, seeing that. Okay? Got a higher low and a higher high, just like SPY, closing over the bullish trap over the 17 EMA. Okay, so QQQ was never in a downtrend, okay, because they never broke a low that was below the 17. Okay, so there's QQQ still in an uptrend. Top of quadrant 4, that's bullish up there. Okay, be careful. QQQ failed to make that higher high. I'd like to see them take care of that this morning. A higher high. If not, I'm going to have more concerns. You can see we're grinding up here near the highs. That's a good sign. Okay, just like to see consolidation, over prior consolidation. Okay, let's go look at IWM. All right, here's IWM. This is the Russell 2000, meaning it's got probably close to 2,000 securities inside this index. Got a higher low and a higher high, closing over a bullish cross or a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. That is bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Diamond Dow makes a higher high right there. Okay, so they were in a downtrend. There's a high. They made a 2-candle low, and price made a higher high right there. So now Diamond Dow is in a daily uptrend. Okay, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish cross over the 17 EMA and over the all-time high anchored VWAP. So Diamond Dow in an uptrend. I'll zoom out so you can see it at the top of quadrant 4. That is bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at FNGU. Okay, FNGU still in a downtrend. All right, because here's a low. They made lower lows. Okay, they got to take out this high in order to be in an uptrend. They got to take out that high right there. Okay, they haven't done it yet. The good news is, all right, they're in a downtrend that's not moving down. That's the good news. All right, it's downtrend that's not working. All right, I'll take it. Okay, higher low, higher high, closing over a bullish cross over the 17 EMA. Okay, that is bullish and in a downtrend that's not working. Okay, and if we look at the price action, price has moved up and is consolidating over to the right. It's holding the higher ground. Okay, that is a bullish bias. Okay, again, we'll go back and look at SPY on the 10-minute chart right here. Okay, with the pre-market on and a 10-minute chart. Okay, and you can see price moved up and is holding the higher ground. Okay, it's still a bullish bias. We don't have consolidation over prior consolidation, but we still have price up and over to the right. That is a bullish bias holding the higher ground. I'm going to stay bullish unless, of course, they break underneath VWAP. Okay, then I'm going to have to abandon my bullishness until they can get back on top of VWAP. So there's SPY. One more look at it right there. All right, let's take a look at daily chart for silver and gold. All right, just let you know that gold made a new all-time high yesterday. This would be yesterday's chart right here. Okay, new all-time high. That is bullish and in an uptrend. You can see here's the full picture. Here's the low. There's the high. Okay, bullish, still in an uptrend. GLD, SLV. SLV got an inside day. It's a lower high and a higher low. It closed over a bullish trap and over the 17 EMA. Okay, it's all the way up here in quadrant 4. Okay, so that's still bullish and in an uptrend. SLV. All right, let's take a look at USO. Okay, it's petroleum crude oil. Now you can see in the upper third, that would be bullish. We're not there. Okay, in the middle, that would be neutral. We're not there. Down here would be bearish. This is where we are. Lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap. Notice the 3 is under the 8 this time, not above like in the indexes. Okay, so it's under the 8. So this is a downtrend. You got daylight between the 3 and the 8. You got daylight between the 8 and the 17 right there. Okay, so price is down here in the lower third. That makes it bearish and in a downtrend right there. So there's USO on the daily chart. Got a low right here, and we're making lower lows under the 17. That makes us in a downtrend. High, low, lower low. Okay, let's take a look at UNG. All right, UNG still in a downtrend, even with this pretty nice candle right here today, yesterday. Higher low, higher high, closing over bullish cross over the 17 EMA. Also, they need to take out these highs right here in order to capture an uptrend. All right, still a long ways to go up here Got to get up on top of 1411. Okay, this was the all-time low right here. This red candle. Okay, so price action is still bearish. Okay, and they're underneath this really low bar of 2-year anchored VWAP right there. 2-year high anchored VWAP, really low bar set right there. But anyways, price action for UNG is still in a downtrend, so that is bearish down in quadrant 1 and still in a downtrend. Okay, because here's a low and they made a lower low. All right, even though they're trying to fight it off, they still haven't made a higher high to negate the downtrend. Okay, so there's UNG. Let's take a look at T2101. Let's look at our technicals. And right here, technicals. Now this is some wacky weird price action. Okay, now I don't know if things were getting repositioned yesterday, but that is some really wacky weird price action right through there. Not sure what was going on, but the market moved up like 5-6 points or 8 points. Okay, and the absolute breadth increased. That's a good sign. All right, when the breadth increase and price moves up, price moving up on the indexes, and the breadth is increasing. Okay, recently in the past, price was moving up, but breadth was decreasing. Okay, ever since all this before the double bottom. Okay, and even right up to these past 2 days. Okay, so market breadth increasing right through here. Okay, along with price. All right, so that's more participation in the markets with the market breadth. That's T2101. Let's take a look at T2122. Okay, you can see the wind up here. This is price coiling up to go higher right there. That's T2122 on the 15-minute chart. We look at where price came from down here on Friday, and of course we gapped up all the way into the overbought zone. Of course, the bears threw us out right away. They weren't going to have anything of that, and they threw us out of the buy zone. They weren't going to have any of that either, but we did make a series of higher lows and then produced some little mini higher highs along with some higher lows to go with it. All right, inside the buyer's chop zone. I would speculate we're probably going to be in the buy zone or in the overbought zone or somewhere up around here today. I would think, unless of course somebody tweets from from the golden shower over there and says something about tariffs, or something's not working, or something is working, or something like that. Okay, so T2122 getting ready to be in the buy zone and in the overbought zone right here, coming out of the buyer's chop zone. I would expect price to wind up in the buy zone, probably spend a good part of the day up here. We'll see. That's a nice wind up right there. Price goes back and forth like this, and you can pretty much see that again in T2101, where price goes up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, coiling up on to go higher. We'll see what happens. Okay, there's T2101, T2122. Look at T2123. Okay, got a little melt up happening here, and we actually do have a 15-minute uptrend because we have a low right here. We got a high right here, and we made higher highs, so we're in a 15-minute uptrend. It's not a very robust uptrend. Look at the downtrend. Look at the angle of trajectory on the downtrend or some past uptrends. Look at these uptrends. This is clearly does not look like this. Okay? Looking more like bear flag to me. Okay? Again, down and over to the right. Okay? We'll see what happens. They're in a 15-minute uptrend. They're still caught down here in the bearish zone from the smaller picture, from the all-time high to the pullback low. They're still down here in the bearish territory in the lower third. They're still caught underneath now no longer a flat 200, but a falling 200 here. Okay, so need to see them break out of the bearish zone, out of the lower third, climb on top of the 200, and start holding some higher ground. Do they have it in them? We'll see. All right. It's a big if, and we'll see. All right. They got to get out of this bearish territory here. Start producing some. They got some little higher highs, but let's face it, these are not significant higher highs. Okay, they do have higher highs. Yes, that's true, but they're not. I'm not seeing consolidation over consolidation or significant higher highs. So I'm not getting that warm, glowing feeling from T2123. Not yet, anyways. If it gets on top of the 200, I could adopt a new disposition, all right, for T2123. So look at the 3-bar chart, okay? 3-bar chart, and you got price has made a all-time high and then has made a lower high, and between these two highs we have made a low, and then of course we made a lower low. So we're still caught in a downtrend on the bigger time frame, the 3-bar chart here. Okay, price action, you can see this is from the high to the pullback low. You can see obviously same as on the 15. We're still down in the lower third down here, okay, for T2123. Bearish outlook from the shorter time frame. So we need to see the bulls show up with a little bit more red meat, a little bit more force, a little bit more energy, all right, because I'm not feeling it yet, all right. T2123, okay, down here, that's still in a downtrend. Now, if we zoom all the way out, okay, you can see we're still up here in quadrant 4. From the bigger picture, still in the bullish territory. But from the recent highs, all right, we're not bouncing yet. All right, we'll see. All right, there was a chance with the higher low right there to produce or at least tackle some higher highs, and they had struggles here at the flat 200. All right, we'll see if they're going to make another run at it with another equal low or higher low here. Maybe make another run at it. We'll see what happens, okay? Not looking ready yet, okay? Because I'm not seeing the bounce happen. Okay, there's T2123. That's the 3-bar chart. Still in a downtrend because it's making lower lows. Okay, on FNGU, all right, there's a high, obviously higher highs. That's in an uptrend on the 15-minute chart. We're up over the 200 SMA. I love that. I like to see it when price consolidates over prior consolidation. Okay, not really. I got a little bit of it, but we had a little bit of it this time here, and they lost it. So I'd like to see a little bit of a longer hold. That looks like a 2-day hold from the 8th until the 10th, and then they gave it up on the 10th. Okay, so I'd like to see longer than a 2-day hold. They couldn't hold it after 2 days. Look at this. They gave it up right there. Okay, so I want to see more than a 2-day hold on price action consolidating up here over the 200 and over all of this brick of consolidation with these candle bars down here. Okay, so that's FNG. Let's look at the economic package, and we'll start here. We'll start with Max Payne, 670. This Max Payne put to call ratio about 1.75, so 1 3/4 puts for each call that expires today. Okay, not much of a put squeeze, but there's something there. A little bit more than there was yesterday. On the economic calendar, Monday was really light. Leading indicators got delayed. Nothing is scheduled for today. I don't see anything. No. On tomorrow, we got NBA mortgage applications at 7, Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations at 10, a petroleum report at 10:30, And that's it. Really light day tomorrow. Okay. Thursday, we've got jobless claims at 8:30. We'll see if they get delayed again. Chicago Fed National Activity Index at 8:30. Existing home sales at 10. And a gas report, natural gas, at 10:30. Okay. So really light beginning of the week. We'll even get into CPI would have been the main event this week, but obviously that's going to be delayed with the government shutdown. We'll see. They have kind of tweets, or how do I say it, social media clips speaking to rumors of a possible end of the shutdown this week. We'll see what happens. Okay, but CPI is scheduled to come out on 8:30 on Friday. We'll see what happens if they can fix the shutdown and get the CPI out on time. We'll see what happens with that. On the earnings front, we got a big one reporting tonight. Netflix, that is $500 billion tonight on Netflix. GE Aerospace, 300 billion. That reports this morning. Coca-Cola, 294 billion. Philip Morris, 246 billion. Raytheon, RTX, I think that's Raytheon, 211 billion. Texas Instruments, 160 billion. Danair Corporation, 149 billion. Capital One, 135. Lockheed Martin, more defense, 115. And Chubb, 106 billion. All of those in the billions there. And you can see Texas Instruments, Chubb, and Capital One going to report this evening right alongside Netflix. All right, so Netflix could be a market mover. We'll see what happens. That starts off pretty much the tech sector, or the big boys tech sector. So we'll see what happens. That helps start off the tech sector. All right, on tomorrow we got Tesla. There's a big one tomorrow. All right, tomorrow evening, $1.5 trillion there. SAP, $335 billion. They're going to report in the evening. And then IBM, International Business Machines, 280. My eyes aren't that good. 282 billion. All right, in the evening for IBM. All right, so all those three report in the evening. That should be a wild evening. Be careful. You might want to be hedged before Tesla closes on Wednesday evening. That is a market mover right there. Thermo Fisher reports in the morning, 203 billion. AT&T, 188 billion in the morning. In the evening, Lam Research, 179 billion. GE Vernova, 163 billion. Amphenol, 153. Boston Scientific, 147. CME, 96. Okay, so these Lam Research going to report in the evening right alongside Tesla. Let's take a look at Thursday, see if we got any big boys. We can tackle these later. Keep an eye on Intel. For all of you that have some Intel calls, just remember you might want to have those hedged prior to earnings. Friday, what do we got here? Not much going on right there. So we got some big boys reporting next week, and I think it's Microsoft, Alphabet, and somebody else next week on the 29th. So we'll see what happens here. All right, any questions for today? Did I look at the dollar? Yeah, I did on this right here. Okay, still in the bear flag, moving flat across right here. And I pulled up 98.58 as yesterday's close. Well, 98.70. Excuse me, 98.70 for the close on the 20th. 98.70. Kind of looks like a putting in a bottom. It's possible. I still see a bear flag right now. So we'll see. We'll see. They're in an uptrend, but they're still captured inside that bear flag. So we'll see. There's hope there, Rickster. We'll see. Again, we don't want a strong dollar. If you're a trader, if you're a consumer, you want a strong dollar because that's going to make your money go further. But like I said, for the consumer, a weak dollar sucks. But for the investor, it's a blessing because all our goods and services are more affordable, and therefore we sell more to foreign countries. You want metals to come down, and then the dollar can die. Yeah, I agree. You'd like a nice pullback. Me as well. Yes. I'd like to see a 30% pullback. I'd really be interested in trading a bounce. Nice 33% pullback would be nice. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to chase it. I mean, I can trade SPY and make money trading SPY and QQQ. I don't need to chase gold all the way up here at these highs. So I'll just sit on the sidelines. Either that or I'll wait for a green erases red. I could get in on something like that. Other than that, that's it. All right, traders, that's it for me right now. All right, I'll come back in about 35 minutes and we'll open up the markets. All right, I'll see you guys in about 35 minutes.